My daughter was in a coffin, and my sister was on Instagram with champagne. I watched her live stream from the burial site. I was standing in front of the grave, clutching a bundle of white roses, while her phone screen lit up with clinking glasses and fake laughter. Music blasted in the background. People cheered as she popped another bottle. That morning, I sent her the funeral details again, just in case. I still hoped she'd show up late, even if she'd already said she had plans. She didn't even text back. She posted a selfie instead, captioned, "New house, new beginnings, just blessed." She used to braid my hair before school. We grew up sharing secrets, sneaking candy, fighting over clothes, and whispering late at night. When my daughter was born, she cried harder than I did. She called herself Auntie Ray and showed up every birthday with glitter and noise. I don't know when things started to change. Maybe it was after my divorce. Maybe it was when I had to move back in with Mum for a while and she got annoyed. Maybe she just didn't like that the attention wasn't on her anymore. But I never thought she'd call my child's funeral a minor event. That's what her text said. I read it over and over. "Sorry, can't move the party. Housewarming's been planned for months. It's not fair to cancel for a minor event." Minor event. I didn't cry at the funeral, not until I saw her live stream. She walked through her new kitchen, giving a fake tour in a white jumpsuit, laughing like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I stood over my baby's coffin, surrounded by empty chairs. Even some of our relatives were at her house. I saw them in the background, dancing. They hadn't even messaged me. I didn't scream. I didn't say anything. But in that moment, something inside me cracked. She called it a housewarming, but I knew what it really was. She wanted to bury me too, only mine wouldn't be with flowers. It would be with silence, and I wasn't going to let that happen. I sent the funeral details with shaking fingers. It felt unreal, even typing the words. Service, Thursday, 11 a.m. at Evergreen Cemetery. Reception after at Mom's. I stared at the message for a long time before hitting send. Ray replied in under 2 minutes. "Sorry, housewarming already scheduled. Can't reschedule for a minor event." I read it once, then again, then a third time, as if the letters might rearrange themselves into something human. A minor event. I sat there at the kitchen table, surrounded by unopened sympathy cards and half-eaten casserole. My daughter's drawings were still taped to the fridge. Her sneakers were by the door, exactly where she left them the morning before the accident. A minor event. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I stared at that sentence like it was written in a different language. Not even a sorry, not even can't make it, just a scheduling conflict. As if I'd invited her to a bake sale. My hands went cold. It wasn't just the words. It was how fast she sent it, like she'd already decided. No pause, no hesitation. Just a line she'd probably typed while standing in her brand new kitchen, sipping one of those pastel cocktails she liked to make. I scrolled back through our messages. 3 weeks ago, she sent a selfie from her kitchen remodel. New counters, backsplash, something about the aesthetic. I'd sent her an update from the hospital. My daughter hooked to machines, tubes everywhere. She replied, "Oh no," and then didn't message again. She hadn't visited the hospital once. She didn't call when the doctors told me there was nothing more they could do. She didn't come when I took my daughter home for the last time. I kept making excuses for her. Work, stress, avoidance. Ray always had a dramatic streak, but she used to love my daughter like her own. I thought grief had made her distant, but now I saw it clearly. She didn't care, not even a little. She picked a party over a funeral. She picked herself over us. And worst of all, she didn't even feel guilty. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to ask how she could look in the mirror. I started typing a reply, then deleted it, then started again, then deleted that too. I didn't send anything back because now I didn't want her at the funeral. I wanted her to see what she'd done, to feel the weight of it, not with words, not with a fight, with silence. The same silence I was surrounded by now, the kind you only hear when something you love has been ripped away and nothing feels real anymore. She called it a minor event, but this was the beginning of something major. Growing up, Ray was always the one people looked at first. The prettier one, the louder one, the one with the perfect smile and the perfect hair and the quick answers. I didn't mind, not really. She was my big sister. She let me hang around even when her friends rolled their eyes. But looking back, there were moments, little things, like how she'd joke about my clothes when I got compliments, or how she'd suddenly get sick The day of any recital or party that was supposed to be about me. Once, in middle school, I won an award for writing. She told me, "It's not even a real trophy, just paper. Nobody cares about that stuff." I laughed because it sounded like a joke, but she kept the conversation going until I stopped smiling. At 16, I started dating a boy she liked. I didn't know at first. When she found out, she locked me out of our shared room for 3 days. Later, she told our mum I'd stolen her makeup and got me grounded for a week. I forgave her. I always forgave her. She wasn't evil. She just had moods. That's what Mum said. Ray had big emotions. I was the calm one, the understanding one. When my daughter was born, Ray was the first to hold her after me. She cried and called her my little twin. For a while, I believed that was real. But then Ray started keeping score. Every time I couldn't go out because of the baby, she'd post selfies with captions like "free and childless." Lucky me. She'd say it was a joke, but her smile never reached her eyes. She never liked when people gave me attention, not even the soft kind. She'd find a way to remind me that I was lucky to have her, that I needed her, that she was the one holding me up, but she wasn't. Not really. She was watching, quietly, for cracks. And when my life fell apart, for real, not in a dramatic way but in the most permanent way a life can break, she didn't reach out. She watched it happen like she was watching a show, and when the season ended, she threw herself a party. All those years, I thought she was just complicated. Now I know better. She wasn't complicated. She was cruel. It was a cold, grey morning, the kind where the sky looks like it forgot how to be blue. I stood next to the casket, holding my daughter's favourite stuffed rabbit. I didn't speak. I didn't cry. I just stood there, numb, staring at the box that should never have been hers. There were only 11 people at the funeral. Most of them barely knew her. Some were neighbours. One was my old teacher. A few distant relatives I hadn't seen in years. Mum sat beside me, silent, eyes fixed forward. She hadn't said much since Ray's message came in. I kept checking my phone. I don't know why. Some part of me still believed Ray would show up last minute, maybe with an excuse, maybe with tears, maybe with anything that looked like family. She didn't. Instead, my phone buzzed with a notification. Ray just went live. I clicked before I could stop myself. There she was, laughing, in white. The same colour we dressed my daughter in for the last time. White silk jumpsuit, gold earrings, full makeup, holding a glass of champagne. Her hair was curled, and she looked like she was ready for a magazine shoot. "Hey everyone," she said, walking through the hallway of her brand new home. "Welcome to Casa Ray. Look at this kitchen." Behind her, people were cheering. Someone turned up the music. I heard my cousin's laugh, loud and clear. She hadn't returned my calls. I turned the volume down, but I couldn't look away. She toasted the crowd. "To new beginnings," she said, "and finally getting what we deserve." I looked around the graveyard, wet grass, dead leaves, the sound of someone softly crying. Then I looked back at my phone. Ray was dancing. I felt like I was watching two separate worlds, one filled with death and silence, the other with noise and light, one where time had stopped, the other where nothing mattered except the next drink and the perfect filter. My hands were shaking. I turned off the screen. It wasn't just a party, it was a message, a performance, a declaration that she'd moved on, that my grief was too small to bother with, that her life was too full for someone else's loss. And the worst part? People believed her. They went. They celebrated. They chose her. That day, I buried my daughter, and I buried whatever was left of my family too. It was a week after the funeral when I got the screenshots. They came from an unknown number, no name, no message, just a series of images. At first, I thought it was spam. Then, I opened the first one. It was a group chat. The name at the top read, "Brunch Bitches." Ray's name was all over it. The first message hit like a slap. I can't believe she's still crying. I mean, it's sad, sure, but come on. That kid was always sick. It was expected anyway. I felt sick. I kept reading. I just don't understand why I should put my life on hold. It's not like it was a wedding or something. People die. Move on. Another one chimed in. Did she really expect you to cancel your housewarming? Right? It's not like her kid was a celebrity. Then Ray again. She's always been dramatic. She wants everyone to feel sorry for her. I bet she loves the attention. That was when I stopped breathing. I stared at the screen. the words burning into my brain. Ray hadn't just skipped the funeral. She had mocked it. She had mocked me, mocked my daughter. There were laughing emojis, heart reacts. They were joking about it, like it was gossip, like my daughter's death was nothing but a temporary inconvenience. And it wasn't just her. It was people I'd known for years, people I'd trusted. I don't know who sent the screenshots. Maybe someone in that group felt guilty. Maybe someone finally saw Ray for what she really was. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that I saw it now. All of it. The fake smiles, the shallow hugs, the quiet envy, the truth she never said to my face. This wasn't just betrayal. It was cruelty, sharp and deliberate. And I couldn't stay quiet anymore. This wasn't about grief now. This was about justice. Not the kind with courts or police. The kind where truth cuts deeper than any lie ever could. I didn't reply to the screenshots. I didn't call Ray. I didn't post anything. I went quiet. Not out of fear, out of purpose. She thought I'd explode. She probably waited for a screaming phone call or a messy Facebook post. That's what she would have done, but I wasn't going to give her that. I deleted the messages, saved the images, and started watching. First, I made a list of names, people who went to her party, people in the group chat, her co-workers, friends, ex-friends, even a couple of family members who had stopped checking in after the funeral. Then I did something I hadn't done in a while. I logged into my old LinkedIn account. I searched Ray's company, scanned every name she'd ever tagged on social media. I found one of her junior employees, someone I remembered from a holiday dinner years ago. I reached out, casual, polite. "Hey, I heard you work with Ray. I'm her sister." He responded quickly, friendly, told me how she was a lot to handle, but great at selling herself. I asked questions. Not too many. Just enough. I took notes. Turns out Ray had been bending the rules for years, taking credit for team projects, using client lists from her old job, something that violated her current firm's policies. She bragged about it in DMS. I got screenshots. I didn't stop there. I remembered she had a burner Instagram. She used it to vent about co-workers and post things she didn't want her boss seeing. I found it. Easy password. Too easy. She'd posted a rant just a few days after the funeral. "Corporate vultures can kiss my ass. I am the company." And below that, photos from her party, ones she hadn't made public, drunk co-workers, bragging captions, a video of her mocking a client behind their back. I archived everything. Then I reached out to a woman Ray had called a frenemy in the group chat. She ran a local blog and always wanted gossip. I gave her just enough to get curious. She asked for more. I said I wasn't sure, that I'd think about it, that I didn't want to seem petty. She promised to keep it quiet. Of course she didn't, but that was the point. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't throwing punches. I was planting seeds. Ray wouldn't even notice until they started growing, until the ground under her shiny new house started to crack. I waited 2 more weeks before I made the first move. By then, I knew enough. I had the screenshots, the emails, the posts, the details only someone close to Ray would know, but I wasn't going to use my name. I made a fake email account, no trace back to me. Then I wrote a message. Short, careful. "You may want to review recent communications from Ray M. She's been using client information sourced from a previous employer. This violates your company's confidentiality policy. Check her private Instagram account for public comments on this. Handle with care." I sent it to one of her biggest clients, a law firm, one she constantly bragged about landing. They loved her until they didn't. I didn't hear back, of course, but I didn't need to. 3 days later, I checked Ray's LinkedIn. Her Client Win Wednesday post was gone. She posted nothing that week. On Friday, she skipped her usual work hard, slay harder stories. Then, one of her co-workers, someone I'd followed quietly, posted a cryptic quote, "What's done in the dark always comes to light." That same night, Ray posted a selfie with the caption, "Haters gonna hate. I rise either way." She was spinning. The next day, I heard through a mutual friend, someone I hadn't spoken to in months, that Ray had lost a major account. No detail, just that it was sudden and confidential. That was all I needed to know. I smiled for the first time in weeks. It wasn't joy, it was relief, like the sound of something cracking after being too tight for too long. I wasn't finished, not even close. This was just the first fracture. She still had her job, her house, her friends, her spotlight, But now there was a crack in the glass, and all I had to do was keep pressing. I didn't plan a grand event. I started small: coffee, a dinner invite, an afternoon walk. I reached out to people who'd been at Ray's party, cousins, old family friends, a few of her co-workers who used to smile at me like we were close. I was careful. I didn't bring up the funeral, not at first. I let them speak, let them stumble over their guilt, their excuses. "Oh, we didn't realize the timing," one cousin said. "I thought she'd cleared it with you," said another. "Ray said it wasn't serious," one woman admitted, eyes down. That was when I pulled out my phone. No anger, no drama, just facts. Screenshots from the group chat, the one where Ray said my daughter's death was expected and mocked me for being too dramatic. I let them read every word. Then I played the voice memo someone had sent me. Ray laughing at the funeral turnout, calling it sad in more ways than one. They didn't say much after that. A few apologized. Some just looked sick. I didn't need their words. I just needed them to know. I didn't blast it online. I let it spread naturally, quietly, from one embarrassed whisper to the next. People talk, especially when they feel guilty, especially when they realize they've backed the wrong person. I hosted a small get-together, just 5 people. I didn't even call it a party, but 2 of Ray's old friends showed up. They brought wine and nervous smiles. We ate, we talked, and before they left, one of them leaned in and said, "You didn't deserve any of that." I nodded. That was enough. A week later, I saw that same friend had unfollowed Ray on Instagram, then another, then 3 more. Her posts started getting fewer likes, no comments from the usual names. Her circle was shrinking. I didn't have to touch her reputation. I just held up a mirror and let her reflection do the work. People she once laughed with were now calling me, sending messages, asking if I wanted to talk. I wasn't sure if I wanted their company back, but I liked knowing the truth was louder now. I didn't need revenge in flames. I didn't want her ruined. I just wanted her seen for who she really was. And now, piece by piece, she was being watched. I picked the date on purpose. The same day Ray had been hyping for months. Her big business launch. A rebrand party with sponsors, investors, a photographer, even a local influencer. She'd been posting about it non-stop. The event of the season, she called it. I didn't say a word about my own plans. No big announcements, no flashy posts, just a quiet invite list sent by text. "Hey, I'm hosting something low-key next Saturday. Food, drinks, just a little thank you for everyone who's been checking in." No pressure, no guilt, just warmth. But I made sure Ray's favorite clients got the invite, her co-workers, a few family members she still thought were loyal. The morning of the event, I baked, set out flowers, music low, lights soft. It wasn't fancy, but it was full. People came, slowly at first, then more. Some brought wine, others brought stories. All of them had something in common. They didn't want to be at Ray's party. They wanted the truth. They wanted peace. Phones buzzed. I saw it happen live. Posts from my living room, smiling photos, group shots, captions like, "Best decision I've made in a while." Meanwhile, Ray's event was quiet. No crowd, no noise. She posted a single photo of an empty table, then deleted it. At 7:12 p.m, my phone lit up. A text from Ray. "Are you serious right now? You couldn't have picked any other day. You're disgusting." I didn't reply. She sent one more. "You're jealous. Always have been." I muted the thread, then poured myself a drink. Because jealousy didn't look like this. Jealousy didn't feel like quiet laughter in a room full of people who finally saw the truth. This wasn't revenge. It was a correction. The cemetery was quiet. No wind, no birds. Just me and the soft crunch of gravel under my shoes. I carried a bouquet of sunflowers, her favorite. Bright, bold, loud, in a place meant for silence. I walked to the same spot I'd visited every week, second row, near the tree with peeling bark. The headstone was simple, no grand words, just her name, her birth, her end. I knelt down and placed the flowers gently at the base. My fingers brushed the cold stone. "Hi, baby," I whispered. "I brought the good ones today. The yellow ones you liked, remember?" I sat for a while, legs tucked beneath me, fingers tracing the letters. No one else was there. No phones. No noise. Just me and her. "You know," I said softly, "she tried to bury you in silence." My voice didn't shake. She thought no one would care, that I'd disappear with you, that her party would be louder than our grief. I smiled, but there was no joy in it. She was wrong. I told her about the people who came back, the ones who saw through the lies, how her aunt sent a card last week, how her teacher emailed, how even the woman from the front office showed up with cookies and tears. She thought this would break me, I said, but all she did was show everyone who she really is. I didn't need to explain what happened to Ray. She would have understood without words. Ray's world had gone quiet. Her company didn't renew her contract. Clients pulled out. Friends stopped returning her calls. She still posted, of course, pictures of empty brunches, old selfies, long captions pretending she wasn't unraveling. But the comments were fewer. The likes were silent. No one was listening anymore. I hadn't yelled. I hadn't exposed her. I just held the truth steady until it did the work for me. She tried to bury me in the dark, but I didn't disappear. I stood up. I spoke carefully. I waited. And in the end, she buried herself. I reached forward and brushed a speck of dust from the edge of the stone. I didn't get to give a eulogy, I said. Not the way I wanted to. Then I looked up at the tree, at the sky slowly warming into gold. But I don't give eulogies for the living. I stood, brushed off my knees, and left the silence behind me.